But what I think which is really important for everyone to follow is consistency. I think effectively, I would say I've only prepared for 3 months, 2.5, 2 months, sorry, because when I took that break, that entire whatever I had built up was gone. I think that one thing that really helped me was when her sir had specifically mentioned right at the start of his videos was don't focus on DI towards the last part of your preparation and then just practice questions and towards last 1.5 months try working on your time space of it. Focus on your verbal because that also links back to your DI in some way.
Miss
And I
Arons.
think that really has helped.
Morning, Ameya. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Natasha?
All very well. You just came back from New York. You said you were at work last evening. You said you
Yes.
were traveling. How are you still exhausted? I was thinking probably you may not be able to join in today. That's why I called you because you said you'd be traveling last night. But thank you so much for making that time.
Yeah,
First off,
always.
congratulations on this 695 score on your GMAT. We were looking at the performance by section. You've got a quant 92 percentile, verbal 86 percentile, and data inside 98 percentile. So it's been a while since you got this score. So do you recall, when you got this score, how many mistakes you've done? What are the number of sections, and how did you feel overall when you saw this score? You thought that, this, like, you were very happy, or you thought you could do better? Do you recall?
Yeah, definitely. I think I've given this exam a month ago, so when I got the score, I was pretty satisfied with it because given the level of preparation, I think the score was pretty good.
Hmm.
But I was a bit disappointed when I saw my quant section because generally I was making one or two mistakes, one or zero mistakes in my mocks, but I think something happened on the exam day. I
Hmm.
made a couple of extra errors, but overall I was pretty satisfied with the score because the verbal and the data insight sections went as well as they could have like what I used to do in mocks. Similarly, they were
It
replicated in the test
it
also.
reflected almost how
Yes,
you got through. So,
yes.
going back to the preparation time, you had joined about 6 months ago, and
Mhm,
given your GMAT almost within the five,
mhm,
6 month mark. So,
mhm,
did you continuously prepare, or did you have some breaks, like last week you had to travel for work, or
mhm.
did you continuously prepare? How did the preparation start, per se?
So I took the course I think in the month of Jan towards the early end of last year towards the end of last year early Jan this year.
Right.
So what happened was I was still traveling quite a bit during the first 3 months, and then I attended Sandeep's first session, and he mainly said that you need consistency. That's the key to
Right.
getting there. And I could see that my scores were not improving. I was giving few mocks here and there, and I was giving some subsection tests also on top 10%
Right.
materials, but my scores weren't improving, and I realized that it was due to the lack of consistency. So during I think last 2.5 months, 2 months before I gave the exam, I sat down quite a bit, uh, didn't travel at all, went home, studied properly, and I think 2 months it took me proper focus study without any disruptions to come to this stage. But
Right.
yes, I think the consistency was the key, which occurred in the last couple of months before the exam.
Right. So, Amia, if you could just tell us from in the very beginning, were there any challenges in any of the section? What section seemed you mentioned that quant was your strong area. So, when you started off, was it the same? And what about the verbal? What specific section are in verbal or quant was a more challenging section that you had to really sit down and work at length?
I think it was verbal. I think the verbal was the one which was, the sort of difficult aspect for me because being from an engineering background, I've not really ever focused on reading comprehensions and things like that before. And I think that was the main thing that I needed to work on. I think, and again, it fluctuated. Sometimes my RC went great, sometimes my critical reasoning went great, and some the other nothing went right. And
Right.
and I think just continuously preparing on both the aspects, and I think going through Sir's tips and tricks helped me a lot, to get better because I wouldn't just dramatically improve my English over a period of 2 months to go from 50 percentile to 86 percentile just on the basis of that I've learned so much over 3 months. I think it's understanding the way of how to answer the questions which Sir has really taught well has really helped me get that score specifically in Mobile. So
Right.
yeah, and, yeah.
So, this is what Sir did, right? With the RC, he has this Octave, and that helped.
Yes.
It's like a mathematical approach. So
Yes.
someone coming from an engineering background
Yes.
so much relates to it that, someone giving me like a mathematical formula to an English
Mhm.
subject becomes like so much easier to look at. So how did Octave and even for CR, you have ACT, ANT, when you're looking at different types of question, different type of passages,
Mhm.
different context, and more importantly,
Mhm.
short, long passages, how did
Mhm.
Octave come into play? And some of the times you didn't even get to apply Octave. So how did you
Right.
really, how did this fare well for you?
Yeah, so I think Octave actually helped me a lot, in reading comprehension specifically. So initially, as I mentioned, when I started the initial preparation, I went through all the theories. I still have Octave written here in my uh, uh, pins here. So I remember I always try to put use Octave when I'm doing reading comprehension, but I think it was that during inconsistencies, I was not able to apply it properly, and I think once I started working on it consistently, and I think it became a part of my conscience really slowly. And I didn't have to specifically go, okay, I'm looking on specific terms of each of the octave parts. But slowly, I think I got more used to it. At the start, it was difficult, but slowly, when I started practicing more questions, I think the material which Sir provided, that 7 to 800 sheet book, practicing from that, constantly applying Octave. And I think during the exam, I was not even thinking that I have to apply Octave because it was so dialed into my consciousness. So yeah, it definitely helped. I think even if when I was not able to understand the passage a couple of times, I was still able to get most of the answers correctly because I was able to look at the opinions, what are the contradictions, the tone of the passage, all that because of the method the sir has.
Right. So, when it comes to the preparation, there were a couple of things that Sir has enabled you so that, so one is the study plan, the other one is the
Mhm,
error log.
mhm,
So how effective was the study plan? Did you have to tweak it or did you follow what Sir had said? And did you utilize everything that Sir said or in terms of the material and content? Because if you recall, there's like a pre-work before the session and then there is post-work as well. There's a lot of
mhm,
content to be done in the post work. So,
mhm,
did you, in through the preparation phase for all these topics, did you go
mhm.
by the same order of studying verbal quant and then DI?
Yes, yes, definitely. I think that one thing that really helped me was when Sir had specifically mentioned right at the start of his videos was don't focus on DI towards the last part of your preparation and then just practice questions and towards last 1.5 months try working on your time space of it. Focus on your verbal because that also links back to your DI in some way.
With
And I
silence.
think that really has helped because for me, quant has always been something that I know I can do.
Right.
Didn't reflect 100% in exam, but I knew that I can do it. I know I can manage it. But verbal was something that really was scaring me, and I definitely followed first plan as well as the annual logbooks very strictly for verbal at least because I knew that if I need to improve my verbal, I need to follow a guided plan which needs to be laid out specifically to how I'm preparing for. So when I saw this plan that Sir had given, I think it was pretty good, and I maintained the annual very consistently, specifically for verbal. And I
Yeah.
think that has helped me to transition from when I gave my first mock and I'd done a bit of preparation, I was on around 50th percentile. And then that's why I'm able to pull up to say 86th percentile because of that.
Right.
Constantly maintaining the error logs and following the plan.
Right. So, on like just before, after you completed the syllabus, how effective for you was the mock
Mhm.
portal? Because that the mock portal also, has a lot of these sectional mocks, topic-wise mocks. And did you utilize during the learning phase, or you finished the entire videos and then transitioned into the mock portal, or did you utilize the mock portal at all?
No, I definitely did. I think before when I was looking for a place like where should I what course should I purchase, and I think I talked to a lot of people, and they mentioned that the top 1% I think is the only sort of course that gives you marks specifically, like 6 7 marks specifically for GMAT tests, and which no other course has, and that's the main reason that I had taken top 1% because of the extensive variety of the tests that you have provided and that the sectional test was really helpful because towards the end of say 2 to 3 weeks, I was getting there with my DI, and I needed really to dial down on getting some good level questions in, and I think that small sectional test definitely helped. And I think even with the respect to the mock test, they are on a difficult level, and I think once you're able to get past those mock tests, with a decent score, I think it'll give a lot of confidence for me to go ahead and give my test properly because The level of the questions were like, really good, and I think you were really expecting high level questions towards the end of your GMAT paper. I think that's exactly what it reflected. So yeah, definitely, probably the most helpful thing from top 10% for sure.
Right. So there's this one question that a lot of
Mhm,
people come from a similar background, the
mhm,
engineering and quant is very strong, and they want to only get help in maybe one of the sections or two sections. So how
mhm,
did, because again, you come from the similar, let's say that storyline as well. So how did quant, especially with top 10%, the material content, although you
mhm,
you were very strong with it, but in terms of the preparation point of view and
mhm,
mock point of view, how did it help
mhm.
maintain, a great accuracy for you throughout? And what particular material in quant especially stood out for you, if you remember and recall?
I think the main thing with me was that I already knew a lot of concepts, which was required for the test. But you need to solve them at a specific pace, right? And that was something which I had lost touch with over the past 4 years when I was doing engineering. So I think the main thing that has helped me with respect to the quant section is the tips and the tricks that sir has given of how to solve these questions. Instead of say if a particular question comes in where the calculation is very lengthy, how you just look at the options and quickly go take and go ahead with that. I think that has really helped me transition into increasing my speed. Because if you give me 2 hours to do the quant paper, I'll do it correctly, but I wouldn't be able to do it at the start in the time that was required right at
Right.
the start. And I think when I was going through Sir's videos as well as the notes that he has given, the tips and the tricks, the shortcuts that you apply, how to get the answers quickly and with the correct answers, this is what really helped me understand of how quickly you need to solve these questions. Because at the start, I never thought I was going to solve these many questions in 45 minutes. But
Because,
yes, once, yeah.
yes. The GMAT generally, even
Mhm,
if you get an answer correct, if you go
mhm.
beyond 2 minutes per question, it's
It,
you realize you're not going with the way GMAT wants
yes,
you to test. You're going with the convention approach, and sir keeps saying that you have to see that there is another shortcut way. There's three
yes.
to five ways to solve it, but you have to
Mhm.
take that. You have to choose the strategy which will take you less
Exactly.
time. Number plugin maybe,
Yes,
very
yes.
quickly identifying some of these statements, X an even number or not, right? So that I think would have been a bigger, you may not have had a problem in understanding the concept.
Yes.
Once told you, it would stick to you,
Mhm.
but that tips excellent would have helped you, right? So
Mm.
on the test day, right?
Yes.
What was your order of preparation? As in, what section did you choose? I'm only going to guess that you would have chosen the ones that is easier for you. So you would have chosen quant, DI, and verbal. But you have to tell me, what section did you choose in the very beginning? And how was the pacing in through all of these sections? Did you have enough time at the end, or did you like run out of time?
So, I started off with Quant. I think that's my strongest section, and the main reason of starting Quant is to get a bit of confidence within you that the paper is similar to the mocks paper that you have given, and nothing extraordinary, and you just need to be in the same mindset that you were. And that's the reason for me to give the Quant section first, just to get in the zone of it. And then after giving the first 45 minutes, I don't take the optional break. I directly get into the next section, and that is verbal. And the main reason for me taking the verbal second is by finishing quant, I think quant finishes on time. I think I've still few minutes to spare to go into few questions, go back into the questions which I need to check. The second is verbal, and verbal specifically second I've placed it mainly because of the fact that my brain opens up towards the mid of the test, and it's not very tired. I can sit and read the questions. What happened during start of the test was during mocks I used to give quant, then DI, and then verbal. And then towards the end of the test, my brain used to start, slowing down. And then I was like, okay, fine, I'm not reading the questions properly, and that's why I'm making mistakes. So, second, verbal specifically was that I was a bit tight on verbal in terms of time for the last couple of questions, but overall, I think that's where, but I was able to answer the rest of the questions pretty accurately on what I could understand. And the third part is again DI. And DI, I think it's all the same thing. I finished the last question with, I think, 10 seconds or 10, 20 seconds to spare. So, the main reason of giving DI last is quant is in sort of, it's an inbuilt sort of a thing with me with
Yes.
respect to maths. So, even if I'm a bit tired, I'll be able to understand some things out of it. And since I read verbal at the start, my brain's in the flow of reading passages and things like that. So, that is also required in some parts of the data insight section. So, that's the ordering that I follow.
Right. And how about the pacing? Did you lose? Were you at point, as in you did the entire section all before time, or was there any section that you felt like the time was running out?
For verbal, yes, I was a bit of short of time, but for quant and DI, I was pretty quant I was pretty early. I was 5 minutes before, and I did go back to some questions to recheck them. Whereas data insights, I finished it on time, 10, 20 seconds to start.
So verbal, did
Couple
you
of questions I had to guess towards the end of the paper.
okay, to the end, okay. That at least so the
Yes.
that explains, right? So when you had a
Mhm.
92nd percentile, you would have made like maybe three, four mistakes there. What do
Yes, I think it was 4 or 5 mistakes, and I think the last two questions were wrong for me.
last two questions? And
Yes,
both were
yes.
passages for you? Or
No, both were passages, yes. So I started off with the passage, and the problem happened was I was able to answer the first question through certain part of the passage. I could read very on top of it, but the last two questions I had to go through, and it was a long passage. So
it's
that's where I
getting
got stuck.
through.
Yeah,
So the time was very less and you could not really
right.
think through. Okay. And in quant, you said you did realize where you made the mistake. You still
Mhm.
had some time and even to go back. You didn't catch it there. The
I did catch one mistake, which I think I realized that I made right after solving the question. But the other two questions, I was pretty surprised when I saw that those were mistakes because I was expecting because the level of difficulty I felt constantly increased. So I was not thinking that I was making a mistake, but I did a couple of mistakes towards the end of the paper.
right. So I quant again. It was three to
Mhm.
four, I think. Otherwise, if that
For
would have
quant,
been quant, yeah.
there's only two.
Two mistakes, and that has
Yes,
cost 86 percentile. The
yes,
83 percentile was for verbal. Sorry,
yes,
sorry. I think it's 92nd and 86 percentile.
yes, it is.
That's a thing, if you look at the previous section, you could only
Mhm.
you could make some more mistakes. Maybe two or three would have gotten you a 99 percentile. But because the
Mhm.
number of questions are reduced, with two
Mhm.
questions, and another thing, very surprising, if any of these question is within the first 10, 12
Mhm.
questions, it drastically
Mhm. Fully
pulls
valid.
down the score. Okay, so
Yes.
okay, this is a fantastic share, Ameya. You're on the other side of everything. So if you have to really, put everything together, um,
Mhm.
including, the time that you had a break, kind you came
Mhm.
back again, and that session
Mhm.
by Sandeep sir really pushed you to,
Mhm.
show consistency. So if you were to talk about what are the absolute definite do's and don'ts in through the preparation, uh, to kind of just finish within 3 months or 4 months of the preparation, what would you have to say in points? The do's and the
Um, yeah, I'll keep it very general. I think like I'm pretty good with quant. Someone will be very good with verbal. So individual section wise, I think they can look at their own aspect. But what I think which is really important for everyone to follow is consistency. I think effectively, I would say I've only prepared for 3 months, 2 months, sorry. Because when I took that break, that entire whatever I had built up was gone. Like 1 week I had taken a break, entire thing. When I got back, I was not able to solve the questions for verbal at all. And I realized that I need to be consistent day in, day out for the next 2 months to make sure that the preps are up to the level. And that's really the most important thing according to me. I think some these has also emphasized it pretty well that you need to be very consistent day in, day out, practice 4 to 5 RCs every day. And it's really and that, it's really required for someone who's want to build their verbal section. But overall, I think consistency and maintaining their error log is
Mm,
really important. You need to realize where your mistakes are happening, and I think the structure that Sandeep sir has provided, I think that's perfect. For me, to maintain the error log, to focus on the things that are more important, and I think if you stick to the methodology that sir has put out and maintain the error log and be consistent, I think everything should be fine. I
right,
think it's very well laid out. So that has
right.
really helped me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing all of these tips. I'm sure anyone who's looking at it would really find it very insightful. Now, the last question is, of course, what next for Amiya? Where are you applying next? Are you applying this year with the score and any particular school in mind? Because the application cycle is already open for the round one. So are you giving it some time before you apply? You give some thought
I,
there?
I won't be applying this year, unfortunately. I was under the impression that I'll apply this year, but I only have 2 years of experience. I think I need to work a bit on that, and then I'm taking some initiatives and work right now.
Yeah.
and I'll probably apply next year. And I think I should be fine with this score, but let's see what happens. I'm pretty happy with this score, but since it's the first time it's been ever in play, and then we are not sure how schools are taking it, so uh, probably so I'll apply next year and see how the averages are looking this year.
So this is a very interesting thing that you said that initially when you started out to give GMAT, you had this in
Mhm.
mind that you want to apply this year. Is that what? Because
Yes.
it's very rare, students are rushing towards round one, round two,
Mhm. Mhm.
than before, without even having
Mhm.
a score in mind. But I think,
Mhm.
what was your entire mindset? To just get done with GMAT and then hum dekh lenge types, or you were rushing initially towards round one?
No, I had set a deadline that I want to be in a space whether if I want to apply this year or next year or whenever I am in a space after the month of June, July.
Right.
And that was my only target. I was not very concerned. Like I knew July and August, September are the deadlines for round one openings, and I just wanted to be in a space where I'm not I'm having a good score by the end of June, and then from there I'll see whether to apply this year, next year, whether my experiences are relevant and things like that. So. It was very test oriented. I did get a lot of calls from my fellow colleagues who are also preparing, who are also applying that you should work on your resume, you should work on this. And only wanted to take one thing at a time. I didn't want to do multiple things. And I think that's also one part of a working professional, that since there are many aspects going on in your working career, you need to focus on one thing solely,
Yeah.
potentially at the start, and then build on that. And that's the only mindset that I have. And right now, though I've decided not to apply this year,
This
but
year.
I've already working to build my profile so that
That's
it's
amazing
eligible.
to know, because then you really are going to outshine your application, and you really now have that space and mind also to work
Right.
towards whatever is required to make that application shine through to or any of the top B schools that you'd like to apply.
Exactly.
It's amazing to have that, be in that space, in fact. But we'll
Mhm.
stay connected, Amia. You
Yes.
know,
Sure.
Authority from admission team,
Yes.
whenever you would like, you could always have a call, or have a conversation with him before you choose to apply. But I
Mhm.
would like to really see so much progress in through, and it'd be very exciting to see when you get an admit as well. So we'll stay connected. Thank you so much
Yes.
for
For
sharing
sure.
this journey. And I would also have to, I know I won't go without saying this, but Sandeep sir and the entire top team is extremely proud of the score, and we're so happy that you trusted this process, you trusted this this institute for one of the pivotal role. I mean, this is going to be one of the changing points for a year from maybe next year or a year later, whenever
Mhm.
you choose to take up the MBA. But we're so happy that we could just be a part of this chapter for you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think it wouldn't have been possible without top 1% for sure. I think it's been really helpful. And I'm glad that I joined top 1%.
Absolutely. Stay connected with Sandeep sir. Stay
Yeah.
connected,
Yes.
and take care. Have a good day ahead. Bye bye. Take care.
You too. You too. Thank you.